Hey guys, it's your girl Samantha, and I wanted to do this video about the school district that is banning books on Rosa Parks and Malala. And I just want to know, what is it with our stupidity, our stupid school system that just continues to try to dumb our kids down? Why are you banning Rosa Parks books and Malala books? Because I think Malala is the woman that was standing up for women's rights or something along those lines. Like, what the F is going on? Like, first you have critical race theory that they have banned in several states or passed bills to ban it because they don't want to teach the truth about white people's fuckery in this country and what they've done to black people. And I personally feel like critical race theory definitely needs to be taught in our schools, just because that kind of explains, I feel like it would be a huge win for African Americans when we come to our argument as far as the government and companies that made their money off of slavery paying reparations to African Americans. And I feel like that's one of the main reasons why a lot of these governments, these local governments, the federal government's not stepping in. The schools in these counties are banning learning about CRT or critical race theory because they know that will just give more credibility to the argument of paying African Americans reparations, which honestly we don't really need any more credibility, because anybody with two eyes can see that slavery happened in this country, and that's how this country is so powerful and so wealthy and the most successful country in the entire world. And they know it's because of slavery. It happened for 400 fucking years. And I'm gonna tell you this right now, like, when I was growing up, I hated school, like when it came to history and stuff, because all I felt was that all we ever were as black people were slaves. Like, they never explained. They gave the history of like Greeks and Romans and all this like ancient history on white people, but like they did not explain what black people were doing before slavery. They just acted like we were just woke up and we just became enslaved the next day. I mean, it's like, what were we doing before that? And it took me like decades to find out the truth, and the truth really began in college, which they said that's where critical race theory is taught, is at college level. But I don't know why. I know why, because our country's racist as fuck. So I know they're basically trying to hide that information. And I mean, everybody doesn't go to college, so there's a few people that get to learn it. That's just not enough to make a difference when African Americans are fighting for reparations. And so you know, it's just like, I did not know much about slavery until I went to college. And I remember just being like really shocked that we were enslaved for like 400 some years. I was like, I still can't wrap my head around that. Like, I still am shocked that was possible, that happened, and that we're sitting here with no effing checks, no restitution, no nothing as African American, as the African American race. I mean, literally everything that we suffer from right now is because of slavery and the stuff that happened after slavery. And can't nobody dispute that. They admit to it, all that BS, and they feel like they're doing something because they're admitting, like white people and the government are admitting slavery happened and this country was built because of slavery. They act like we're supposed to be happy that you just said something. No, we want our land and we want our money and for all that free labor. We want our money for pain and suffering, our money for you breaking up our families, taking our culture away, kidnapping us from Africa. Like, the list goes on and on. So now, on top of like them doing all their messed up crap that they've been doing since day one, since before this country was even existing, we now see that, I don't know where the school that is, at Central York. I don't know where that is, so I had to do some more digging. But we now see that they are basically banning books. Where they do that at? Like, you're at school to learn, right? So why are you banning books where children are supposed to be reading and learning about history and things like that, just so we don't repeat history? But do you want us to repeat it, white people? Is that why you're banning all this stuff? And me personally, I'm just like, where's the outrage from the parents? Why do we have 3 teenagers here speaking out? Where are the parents at? Are we going to school board meetings? Are we showing our tails? But like, I just feel like when I see videos, I see a lot of angry, stupid white people who are parents who are crying because they don't want their kids to know the truth. They come up with these sorry ass excuses why they don't want their kids to know the truth about this country. And I'm like, be proud of your work. You know what I'm saying? You're benefiting off of it still. You're enjoying the benefits of it and the fruits of our labor as African Americans, but you don't want your kids to learn the truth because you're not. Why aren't white people ever proud of their bull crap? Why aren't they ever proud of the crap they do? That alone should tell you all these laws going and bills being created, laws going into effect, all this BS happening should let you know how white people feel. They know they trifling. You know you're trifling. Like, you don't even want the world, you don't even want your kids to know what you fucking did. You're probably going home and lying to Billy and Sarah about your history and trying to act like y'all did something special. You probably just not even telling them anything while you living in this big ass mansion. You trying to act like, oh, we just worked really hard and that's how we got. No, you fucking trifling ass. You lied and you stole wealth. You took land from us. You enslaved an entire race of people. Like, you lost your fucking minds. You are barbaric. You're savages. You're not humane. And you're not telling that story, and you don't want that story told because you know you're trifling. You know you're trifling. There's nothing in black history that we would be just so, oh my gosh, we got to hide it so much. We need to pass all these bills to try to hide our history. We don't have anything like that. But you got white people quick to put in the media, act like we just these horrible super predator people, and we just doing all this barbaric crazy stuff, and we needed to be civilized by white people. We needed to be civilized? No, clowns. You need to be civilized. You have problems, and you still have them damn problems. You still have the same effing problems. Like, if you could see all the drama, all the violence that's going on airplanes and hospitals and restaurants, like, white people just showing their ass. They are acting the way they always act. They are staying true to nature, and when shit hits the fan, they go back to who they really fucking are. And so now they showing their ass and they just doing the most. And it's like, y'all can try to do this. You can try to block stuff all you want to, but this truth is coming out. And black parents, y'all, we need to fight to get CRT in our schools. Everybody acting like they confused. I think a lot of black people don't even really know what CRT is. It's teaching the truth about this country. That's what it is. It's teaching the facts that racism, systemic racism, is institutionalized. And it is baked inside of American everything. Racism is about as American as apple pie. That's how racism gets down in this country. It is literally woven into the fabric of every single thing that occurs in America. But yeah, we want to go to school and pretend like it's not a part of our lives. It's not a part of our culture. That's what white people want us to go to school and pretend to do. I wish I would. If parents are not going to fight this, I don't even know what to tell you. Like, I wish my district would have been Texas district trying to ban something. I wish they would. I wish I have that black mom wish fucking factor. Like, I wish a motherfucker would. I wish you would. Because I would be showing my ass. I want to go to the school board. I want to run for school board anyway. Because I'm tired of the wrong people being at the top. We have so much drama going on in our school board right now. It's just a lot of black people fighting, looking silly. It's like, can y'all get your life together and remember why you're up there? Jesus Christ. People bitter and fighting and bickering, looking crazy. I'm like, get yourself together. We have really bigger problems to worry about. I don't even know what they're fighting about, but I know they're fighting. That's all we ever do. When we finally get some power, we forget where we came from, and now we're sitting here fighting each other looking silly instead of fighting the real enemy. And white people, meanwhile, they're making gains because we don't never stay focused. Black people don't ever stay focused on what we should be focused on, which is dismantling white supremacy. That should be your number one focus and goal. Every single day you wake up and your feet hit the ground, you should know that's what your destiny is for that day. Everything you do should be to dismantle and end white supremacy. And that would include us getting them checks. Because you can't really be a white supremacist if you don't have money anymore as a power leverage. That's why white people don't want to give you money, because they already know. They already know they will not have any more power over African Americans if they finally cut them checks. When they finally cut them checks, they're not going to have power over us like they do right now. We're going to be like, F you, and we probably, half of us probably going to leave the damn country altogether and just act like we don't know nothing about America. But that's a whole nother story. So let me go ahead and play this video, and then I wanted to play the other video just to remind you guys about what is happening in Texas right now. Actually, I'm going to find all the damn states that have put out bills to ban CRT, because that's how white people get down. They stay focused on their BS. That's one thing I can give them, is they trifling silly selves. They stay focused on their racist agenda. Why black people fighting over a man or whatever the hell you fighting over in school, whatever you doing, you're not getting the job done, obviously. Because if you were, we would not be dealing, we would see it in the news. We would see something getting accomplished. And I'm pretty sure my district is not teaching CRT either. So we have bigger problems than whatever the hell. I just know the school board members and the people at the top are a mess, full of black fake fucking drama. So let me go ahead and play this video.
Of controversy surrounding history and race that is affecting a growing number of America's public schools.
The school board cannot just silence our voices.
Last fall, the all-white school board of the Central York School District unanimously banned a list of educational resources.
That resource list, which has a lot of bad ideas and some books that I would definitely not want in our district.
And I do not feel it's balanced, and I think it's divisive.
That list includes a children's book about Rosa Parks, Malala Yousafzai's autobiography, CNN's Sesame Street Town Hall on racism.
Racism? What's that?
And much, much more.
This is Hidden Figures. The movie was,
Like from the movie?
Yeah.
This is the kids' version of the book from the movie.
Yeah.
It's frustrating for the students.
This is a board that, after hearing their students' concerns about diversity in the district, hearing my struggles with race, being an Indian American, and consistently feeling like I didn't belong, after all those conversations for weeks on end, they still pursued this book ban.
I want to learn genuine history. I don't want to learn a whitewashed version. I want to hear all of it. I don't want everyone to be worried about how we feel, because no one was worried about how BIPOC members of the community felt.
The ban.
And see, this is exactly what white people are afraid of. They are afraid that their children are going to grow up and take the reins of this country, and they're going to do the right thing by black people and other people who are being disenfranchised. That is what these old white people who are sitting on these boards, and they're not even old. They look like they were middle-aged, if that. They are not that old, and they're still racist as fuck, and they still holding on to some ancient old values that are alive and well in America to this day. And what that little white girl was saying, like, that's exactly what these white parents and grandparents are afraid of, is that Becky and Billy will learn the truth and undo all this BS that is going on. Because a lot of people, like I tell people, I believe all white people are racist, but a lot of them are they're unconsciously they don't realize they're being racist because they're not learning stuff. And it's things like these boards that are making sure our children don't learn the truth, so they can just go through the rest of life totally oblivious to what they're doing, so they can continue to hold power over a group of people. And this white girl is letting them know, like, why are you worrying about my feelings, but you weren't worried about enslaving a whole race of people for 400 years. You're not worried about any kind of stuff you're doing to harm Indians or anybody else, whatever they did to harm other groups of people. I can't speak for it because I know they have oppressed other groups. So, I mean, look what's going on in Haiti right now. That's a mess. And I just don't understand why they're just kicking all these people out and deporting them. Like, I don't really know what the hell is going on. I don't know that people are coming over illegally, but I'm like, if that's the case, why are you bringing over all these Afghans? And you're picking and choosing who can be over here. And as an American citizen, we don't have a say. And my sister sent me this story about these Afghans who already, 2 of them have raped a girl, a young child. And I'm like, okay, so that's what we're bringing over? Ripped Raff? Like, are these people even being vetted? Because last time I checked, we were at war for 20 some years because they bombed our country. So how do we know we're not flying in the enemy?
School librarians to pull books from shelves and is creating real fear among educators.
I have to now, with this resource ban, think twice about whether or not I should or could use a James Baldwin quote as an opening for my class.
There are teachers looking over their shoulders, wondering if someone's going to be at their door, darkening their door, that you said something or you mentioned something or you used something that you were not supposed to.
The fact that all the banned materials are by or about people of color is just a coincidence, according to the school board president. Concerns were based on the content of the resources, not the author or topic, she said in a statement. She and the rest of the school board refused to speak on camera. She says it's not a ban.
Yeah, I bet their asses are afraid to speak on camera because they know they don't have any real substance, any real basis on why they are banning these simple children's books. Why would you ban a book that says I am enough and it's like this little simple book about a little child with an afro? And a lot of these books don't go on. They do not go in the classroom to be talked about. Like, a lot of these books are just books you can rent, you can check out of the library. Because obviously I went to this shitty school system and I know that's how it works. Like, some of them books they're just in the library for children to read. Why would you take a book away that would make a little black girl feel better about her hair? Like, it's our fault that our hair grows the way it does. You're supposed to be giving our children self-esteem. And you know why I would usually say just take our kids out of these schools, homeschool our children. But you know why I'm going to say we need to fight this shit? Is because we still have to pay taxes. Until they figure out a way to make it so I ain't got to pay your ass taxes, I don't have to be... If I have to take myself out of society and my children out of society, I shouldn't be held accountable for any of your whack ass laws where nobody was in the room signing for me, agreeing to your constitution or anything else you're doing. You know, like you saw that school board panel. I didn't see not one black person in there. It was all white people. All white people. And that's how they do it. Like, I'm like, why am I being held to this standard when I didn't have anybody in the room agreeing to none of this BS? We had no say in what you guys said could be laws or not. And my sister actually brought this up to me. And she made a extremely valid point. She was like, why do we have to pay taxes, all these high-ass taxes? We still don't have no reparations. Why the fuck am I paying taxes to you? Why am I being arrested for something that I didn't say I agreed? I didn't sign shit. I did not say I agreed to any of these laws. I didn't have no say in what was going to be in the Constitution. Like, why? This shit is getting out of control. It's extremely out of hand. It's not even getting out of control. It's been out of control. And black parents need to create an entire effing union. Like, we need to unionize, come together, make an organization, make a foundation, do something, and say enough is enough. Like, this is what the fuck I want in my child's school. Because the last time I checked, the school works for us, not the other way around. You ain't doing me none of motherfucking favors. Shit, fuck your school. Fucking sorry asses. Like, they make it a law that parents have to send their kids to these schools. And then you teach them a bunch of bullshit. I want to see more parents speaking out. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see. And I want to see a parent organization come together across the goddamn nation to stand up against this BS. Fuck these school boards. Like, you're going to teach the truth. And now you got teachers talking about in this school, and I know it's in the schools across the nation, afraid of what can they say and what can't they say. They have no freedom to teach. They're teachers. They had to be more worried about keeping a job and following some bullshit rhetoric or, you know, towing some invisible line than actually doing their goddamn job. I'm not sending my child to school to learn a bunch of lies. And I promise you, like, I teach my children the truth all day long. They've seen all the videos, all the DVD videos of Hidden Colors with Tariq Nasheed. We read books. I talk about race all goddamn day in the house because it affects everything we do. And then when I first started doing this years ago, I had white parents, white people on social media talking about, well, you teaching your kid hate. No, bitch, you're hate. You are the hate. You are the hatred that is this life. Like, you're all, when I think of hate, your face should be right up under that definition. If you don't, and I tell people, if you don't want me to teach my children hate, then stop being hateful. You want me to fucking whitewash and sugarcoat this fucked up shit that you're doing to us? How does that make that shit make sense? Like, you're the one victimizing us, oppressing us, hurting our people, my people, African Americans, but you want me to go home and fucking whitewash some shit for my kids? I wish a motherfucker would. And that's the way every parent should see it. Every black parent, especially Indian parent, whatever parent, because they are harming your children and your family. This shit is gonna roll right on downhill. White people know what the fuck it is. They know what time it is. That's why they always making sure they controlling what the fuck is taught in these schools. It started from way back when with the Daughters of the Confederacy. They got together like, oh, we gotta teach this, we gotta teach it this way. You guys are the traitors of the fucking country. Why are you allowed to be in charge of what our American children learn? You treasonous ass bastards. None of this shit makes sense, and we just go along with it. La 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 la. Everyone's just going along with it. No, I want to see real fucking outrage from black parents. Where is the outrage? And I feel like it's because people are, we don't know what it means. You better do some damn research, because everybody has a phone in their pocket. You better start Googling, because what they're doing is setting us back another 500 fucking years. That's how we stay oppressed, because we keep doing stupid shit to ourselves. Like Jim Clyburn, get his ass out of office. The Black Caucus, get rid of them too. Vote all them old ass people out. They haven't done shit for black Americans since they fucking sat their ass in them congressional seats in the 90s. I can't name not one person in that caucus that did anything for anybody. Like, what have they done since they became a caucus? What have they done? We should have the Black Congressional Caucus, and we should have the Congressional Black Caucus, and we should have an African American caucus, like two different caucuses. Because you don't fight for black people, for African Americans. You fight for all other black people, the others, the immigrants, the gays. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, with fighting for those groups. But there is something wrong with fighting for those groups only. And I'm just like, I feel like Malcolm X, what they said in his autobiography, they're like, Malcolm X would have just been a regular father and a regular husband if he wasn't like seeing something he had to change. I feel like that's where I'm at. Like, I'm gonna have to do some extra shit to make some real changes in this country. This shit is ridiculous. It's getting really ridiculous, and I don't see anybody stepping up and doing what needs to be done. So I might be running for some shit because I didn't had it. And I don't feel bad about nothing in my history, because I've seen some raggedy ass politicians that are up there with their conspiracy theories. What's that bitch's name? Green, something Green. How the hell is she how is she a politician? There's just no standards. I mean, if Trump is running, he didn't ran for president, he became president. There's no standards. There's none. The only standard is you have to have a lot of money. But there's a way around that. You can go move to a podunk town or something in the middle of nowhere and run, and where nobody has any money, and you probably could win. Go somewhere where nobody ever runs and nobody really cares about politics, and you probably could win just off default. And now you're in Congress making laws. Because they named some of these people. I'm like, who the hell is Manchin, Nsima, whatever her name is? I don't even know who are these people. Who are they representatives of? these little podunk towns. That's who they're representative of. Like, they're just these random little people that nobody pays attention to until they're stopping all of legislation. So I'm gonna finish this story, and then I want to show you guys a little bit of what's going on in Texas right now, and then we're gonna go down the list of all the states that have bans as banning CRT, critical race theory.
The materials are frozen while the board vets them, but the process is still ongoing after nearly a year. That suits some parents in this 82% white district just fine.
I don't want my daughter growing up feeling guilty because she's white.
That sentiment is spreading. At least 27 states have passed or are considering policies strictly defining what students are allowed to learn about race. One expert says the York ban is something new.
Yeah, this seems pretty egregious. I mean, I can see how certain trainings or workshops that some parents take exception to seem really outside of what a history class can be expected to do. But the kind of texts that are being banned here make me feel that there is now just sort of an allergy to anything that mentions race or racism.
This is about more than a book or a movie or even a curriculum, some veteran teachers say. In York, they worry it's a war on their profession.
I am not an enemy of the state.
That's right.
I am here to take care of your babies when they walk into my classroom. And there are some I'm looking up at, but they're still babies.
Boy, oh boy, Evan McMorris Santoro joins me now. I mean, this is ridiculous. It's outrageous. Thank you for that piece. It's really great reporting. This seems really broad. What was the issue with CNN's Sesame Street Town Hall on race?
Well, Don, that's the question those students in the piece were asking, parents are asking, teachers are asking, and I asked several times while I was in York. But the board refuses to talk about the specific things that they don't like, with things like Elmo asking about race, or a Rosa Parks biography, or the 2017 Academy Award-winning Best Documentary feature. People who are watching this, watch this issue nationally, say this York situation could present a new front in this battle, in which anything that centers non-white people, their experiences, their lives, their history, could be suspect. And they say that's a very, very scary thing to think about. Don?
Yeah, let's remember, as they say, there's no systemic racism. That was sarcasm, Evan, by the way. Thank you, sir. I appreciate the reporting. So we've been talking about the history.
Yeah, it's funny because they say there's no systemic racism, but this is showing how racism is systemic, because you are taking your power as a school board member in this all-white school board in York, Pennsylvania, to ban things that children are saying they want to learn about, even your white children. Teachers are saying, what's the problem with these books? Parents, I don't see any of the black parents speaking out. Where are you guys at? Where are you? And if you're sitting here with York and say like they are just all white, you basically don't have a stupid city of kids who just can float through school, 13 years of schooling, and act like, oh, I don't know what's going on. You should feel guilty because you're white. Y'all done some fucked up shit. And if you don't want your kids to feel guilty, do the right thing and pay reparations so you can at least feel like we fixed the problem. But you can't even do that because your ass is racist, and this is a systemic racist problem. It's institutionalized. When you can go through the school, and who the fuck do they think they are? You know what? I'm going to call this school district. But I'm going to call all of them. Like, who the fuck do you think you are sitting here like saying you don't have to respond to parents and journalists who are tasked with giving people the truth about what's going on in our country? They're tasked with giving that news. Who the hell do you think you are? Aren't you public servants? So you get to just sit on your ass and not answer to anyone? Fuck the dumb shit. Like, if I was a teacher, all the teachers should teach all the shit they said to ban. That's all I would teach all year.
Over what students might be learning about race in school having real consequences. A school board in Pennsylvania banning dozens of books and media that talk about race in America. So join me now to discuss CNN political commentators Ashley Allison and Scott Jennings. Good evening to you. Scott, we love having you on to talk about these issues involving race. Maybe just for your facial expressions, I don't know. Anyway.
And these are valuable conversations.
They
I'm
are.
glad you have these panels. I mean,
Yeah.
you're brave enough to have them, and I think we ought to have them.
Thank you very much. Good, and I agree with you. Well, Ashley, I want to ask you about schools again becoming the ideological battlegrounds, whether it's over masks or boogeymen of critical race theory. How much of this is really about the parents instead of the kids caught in the middle right here?
Well, you know, I was reflecting on this segment, and one of the people said, they're teaching really bad things like slavery and discrimination. Yes, there are terrible things that we should not have done, and yet we need to teach our kids about the history, because if you do not know your history, you are destined to repeat it. But unfortunately, we now see parents or adults who are preventing having the full truth being taught. I used to be a school teacher, and I don't actually think it's teachers who don't want to be taught, teach the full truth. It is the administrators that are putting some constraints on them. As a teacher, you have an obligation and a responsibility to teach verbs, nouns, the Revolutionary War, and the Civil War. You cannot pick and choose the facts that you want to teach. You also have an obligation to teach students critical thinking skills. And it is very clear that the students in York and all around the country are saying, I smell BS and I'm not buying it, and I want a full, complete story of this country, and I will use my critical thinking skills to discern what is good policy and bad policy. And it's the adults that are not leading, and we're relying on young people yet again to save us from poor leadership of adults that should not be in the positions they are in.
So, Scott, listen, we're talking about Sesame Street, Rosa Parks' book. I mean, this isn't controversial stuff. It's enlightening. The right and the Fox propaganda network love to attack safe spaces and cancel culture. I mean, they're all about pushing back against censorship. Isn't this being, this school board being hypocritical here? Isn't this about censoring and canceling books?
Well, I read the list of materials that was on the banned list, and I found a lot of variance there. I mean, the Sesame Street episode, the biography about Rosa Parks, seems to be far different kind of material than the book White Fragility, which I can't even begin to imagine why that's in a public school. So there's some stuff on there that seems perfectly reasonable to have in a school, and some stuff that I'm not necessarily a fan of being part of a school curriculum, nor would I think most parents would be if they are concerned about their kids being sent into a school and being told, because you were born white in America, you're inherently rotten and racist, and we're going to fix it. So it strikes me that there is a middle ground here, and the middle ground is, number one, banning materials is not a good idea. I read in the CNN story that we just posted a couple of hours ago that not only were they taken out of the curriculum, but they were pulled off the library shelves. It strikes me that all materials could live in a library, and if students wanted to access materials and use them for book reports and things, that should be perfectly fine. It also strikes me that there's a huge difference between, some of the things that were banned and others that were banned that maybe ought to be re-reviewed. So I'm sympathetic to parents who are worried about what their kids are learning. I'm also sympathetic to the students who are rightly have their radar, their antenna up when they hear that things are being taken out of libraries. Having something available in a library doesn't mean it has to be in the curriculum, but it also means that students can get access to it if they want it.
And that's exactly what I was just saying. So having things available in the library when I was a child, that doesn't mean that the things I read in the library were necessarily taught in my classroom. I would read R.L. Stein books or whatever I felt like reading as a child, and that's not being taught in the classroom. So it's just this is how afraid white people are of white children. And honestly, everybody learning the truth. I don't think it's just about them being so afraid white kids are going to be like, oh, I was bad. Obviously, you weren't bad because you weren't alive when all that stuff happened. It's just what you do from here on out that's going to really define who you are as a human being. So it's just BS. And these people trying to pretend like they're trying to protect their white kids. This is how racism works in America. So it's the comfort of whiteness is always at the expense of blackness. And I'm going to go on the record and say there are only two races, white and black. That's really what it comes down to. There's only white and black. And so whenever you say you want to be less oppressed as a black person, that means you're going to be pushing back on white comfort some. and they just aren't having that. It's not about white kids feeling rotten and like, oh, I'm so guilty, blah, 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 blah. You should feel sometimes. You should feel guilty for what your ancestors did. Just like as a black child, and my black children had to feel sad for what our ancestors had to go through. Why are black children the only ones that have to experience some negative feelings, some hurt feelings? Why is it okay for us to always have to fucking take the brunt of everything, while white kids get to just live their lily white lives and skip through the damn field and just have this wonderful perfect childhood? That's bullshit. We are all a part of this country, and everybody should feel good about being an American. And just like black children had to feel less than because we know that our whole family, all of our ancestors were enslaved. We don't even know anybody past our great grandparents because shit was burned and hidden and stolen from us. We don't know what our real accent is, what our real language is, what our real culture is, which country we really derived from. We're having to pay money to Ancestry.com and companies like that just to get our DNA test done, just to find out where we came from because of what white people did to us. We have this horrible life that we have to endure in knowing our history, but you want white kids to just fucking float through life with no problems? That's part of the issue, is that you don't have any guilt. That's the fucking problem, is that white kids, like this white old man right here, is able to live in America with no guilt. Who are you to like get to not have any guilt for the fucked up shit you did? Why do you get to live a life, a full-bodied life in America, enjoying all the fruits of not your labor with no guilt? You should definitely have guilt. You should definitely be paying penance and feeling bad like we did these bad things to our fellow citizens of America, and we're paying dearly. We're paying reparations to right the wrongs. Like, you haven't even began to fix what you did wrong, America. So how dare white people think that they get to just raise their kids in this lily whitewashed world where they don't have any guilt? You should definitely feel guilt. You did something wrong. You've yet to fix it. You should definitely feel guilty all day long.
Perhaps there's a way forward here that satisfies most people's concerns.
Look, Ashley, I mean, go on.
No teacher is teaching someone just because they are white that they are bad. They are teaching history, and we cannot omit who were perpetrators and enabled slavery and some of the oppressive policies that we have. It is history. I never said one person was better than another person, but we cannot run away from the facts. And so it is a weak argument to just say, like, because I read something that makes me feel uncomfortable, I'm going to assume that the teacher is saying that my student is bad or that I am bad. No, it's the facts. And if you don't like the facts, then let's not ever repeat an oppressive policy like slavery or discrimination or voter suppression or not giving a woman a right to choose. But that's not that's not the argument. They just want to ban all of history because they're afraid of having tough conversation.
Well, look,
you see that white guy, he doesn't like what this black woman is saying, and I love that she is dark-skinned, and she's putting it all out there, and that's what it is. It's like, this is the history. This is your history. This is what your ancestors did. This is what you guys did, and now you want to fucking sweep over it and pretend like it didn't happen? No. I call bullshit, and like, no. And he's very upset because you're not even wanting to own up to your own history. No one gives a shit how Billy and Sarah feel. No one gave a shit about how black kids have felt all these damn decades and centuries. One, while we were being enslaved, and then two, once we were quote unquote free and still being discriminated against, and then three, once we finally were in desegregated schools, what we had to sit through to hear about our own family members? You think that made us feel good? I have yet to hear anyone mention black children in all of this. Like, we just don't matter. Black people don't matter so much that, like, we're just not going to talk about how black children feel having to sit through Tom Sawyer saying the N-word 1,000 fucking times. Why wasn't that book banned? Having to sit through movies and books and the school books that taught about slavery. Like it was horrid. It is extremely uncomfortable for a black child to have to sit in class, especially if you're the only black child in the fucking classroom. So we're like, while Billy and Sarah get to feel good about things, I'm sitting here feeling like a foot. I feel like a hill, like shit. Like, wow, like we were only slaves. That's what we ever were. Unacceptable.
I'm a big fan of James Baldwin, and The Fire Next Time was controversial when it was written, and now it is part of curriculums all across the country, and people laud the work. Listen, we'll continue this conversation. Thank you. I gotta go.
Okay, so now we're going to go to the schools in Texas. I actually want to go through all the schools if they could do that.
I will now call to order the special board meeting of the District School Board of Collier County in the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Administrative Center boardroom.
Collier County, Florida is affluent, overwhelmingly white, and twice voted overwhelmingly for Donald Trump. It seems an odd place for a row about race and political philosophy, a topic previously confined to obscure academic journals. But activists in Collier County are doing battle over the Au Courant culture war issue, the teaching of critical race theory, or CRT, to K through 12 students.
So what is this meeting about? It's about textbooks, books filled with Marxist, communist, racially divisive ideologies.
CRT is a decades-old academic idea centering the role of racism in cultural and political life. But in the current debate, its meaning is ill-defined.
This critical race theory urges intolerance of all human beings that have been created in the image of God.
I do not agree with teaching children how to feel about things. That is called indoctrination.
I'll be damned if I will allow a Marxist revolution to take place in this country, and we need to reject our children even being taught it.
The Department of Education, Portland personally has said that he has directed his staff to go out to all of the publishers and get this critical race theory and all of its tentacles out of the existing materials that have been approved.
Keith Flaw is the founding director of the Florida Citizens Alliance, a conservative group that crusades against curricula it deems insufficiently patriotic or excessively progressive.
What did you see in those two books that you looked at? What did you object to?
Critical race theory. What critical race theory boils down to is teaching kids to hate their friends, teaching them to focus on race rather than focus on character.
So let's look at some of these examples from the K through 5 books that you were objecting to the other day.
What I did was go through the teacher's manuals that are used to teach these books. And what you find is that it builds the foundation for critical race theory, not on the 3 words of critical race theory, but it builds the foundation on culturally responsive training, equity versus equality, social justice. So those are all innocuous terms in many people's minds, but when you look at how the left is now using those to drive the whole perspective of critical race theory.
What is the sentence in here?
I'm not sure there is one.
There isn't.
The terms, see, that's where most.
No, I don't even mean the terms. I mean the concepts. What in the book conceptually do you object to that teachers will read this off?
Culturally responsive training is a whole notion in the book. Equity versus equality is a whole notion.
But that's in the book that the kids will read.
No, that's in the book the teachers are using as a guide to teach the kids.
Do you have the section where it says something about equity over equality? Is equity mentioned in the teacher's guide?
I don't recall. Equity, culturally responsive training is clearly identified.
What is culturally responsive training? What does that mean?
Culturally responsive training is a fancy term for multiculturalism, dividing people by ethnicity.
Where is this from?
This is from the homework our team did.
So that's your language, not the language of the textbook.
It's language we found in the literature. I don't know what you're looking for, Mike.
I don't see anything in here that says that they're teaching critical race theory.
This is all very subtle. We've said that from the beginning. Critical race theory is a very subtle ideology that permeates. This is identity-based racism, Marxism. If it looks like a duck, talks like a duck, and walks like a duck, it's a duck.
Despite a lack of specific examples, and in the face of organized citizens, the board delayed approving material it previously found unobjectionable, on a curious technicality.
I do feel very strongly about this, so I'd like to make a motion to defer the vote today.
None opposed? All right. Thank you all.
Jen Mitchell is the vice chair of the Collier County School Board.
It's not the book itself. In fact, you said it was a pretty good book.
It's a great book. I objected to material that I saw on their website that I was alerted to by a citizen. It's very clearly speaking about BLM and all of these very controversial areas around race. Now that we're aware that the publisher took this position, maybe there are some things that might jump off the page and appear to be maybe not appropriate if we take a look again, knowing what we know now. So I think we just need to do the best that we can to kind of create this bubble around our kids and keep that type of stuff out of the classroom.
Meeting adjourned at 1:20.
Just days after the Collier County School Board erupted in acrimony, the Florida State Board courted controversy when it took up new rules explicitly banning K-12 teachers from, quote, teaching critical race theory. The measure had been championed by Florida Governor and likely 2024 presidential candidate Ron DeSantis, who kicked off the meeting.
So I know you guys are going to consider the critical race theory prohibition, and obviously that's something that we've been supportive of in my office. We've got to have an education system that is preferring fact over narratives.
Both sides of the debate claim a monopoly on truth, typically in stark contrast to their opponents, who are said to traffic in lies and propaganda, though few proffer a definition of what exactly constitutes truth in history.
The proposed amendment that you all are looking at requires that teachers define American history based on standards in the Declaration of Independence. At that time in our history, black people were property, and they weren't even considered to be people.
Teaching the facts will bring the country together, not divide the country. We need more critical race theory if that's what it means, teaching the truth. We need more of that in schools.
This is a deliberate plan to politicize and whitewash history.
Thank you, Mr. Fraser.
Stop it.
Susan Eric Kirk.
We say
your time is up. Thank you.
Allow teachers to teach the truth. Allow teachers to teach the truth. Allow teachers to teach the truth.
Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute recess because the court reporter needs it. Ma'am, Mrs. Acker, we will come to you when we come back in.
The protesters failed to stop the anti-CRT move, and the board went a step further than originally expected, passing a version of the amendment that prohibited teaching the New York Times controversial 1619 project.
With that, I appreciate everybody being here, and we stand adjourned.
We discovered that less than an hour after passing the new rules, members of the board still seemed unclear on what they had just approved.
One of the things that's slightly troubling is the 1619 project is explicitly banned as resource material at all in the school. Does that mean you can't even discuss it?
Can a teacher bring it up and discuss it? I'm sure they could. It doesn't ban that. It bans it as the basis of the curriculum. It's not to be taught in the classroom. Nothing we did today was about excluding or banning or preventing anyone.
But that one pretty specifically says you cannot.
It cannot be used as the basis for the curriculum.
Not exactly. The amendment is vague, stating that instruction may not utilize material from the 1619 project. And this sentiment is spreading. Anti-CRT related statutes have passed in 8 states and are currently under consideration in dozens more. And they're often written in broad and unspecific language, raising concerns about free speech rights and academic freedom.
Some of them are laughably unconstitutional, and some of them are probably actually already banning things that are already banned.
We spoke with Greg Lukianoff, a First Amendment lawyer and president of FIRE, a group that monitors and legally challenges abridgments to speech in education.
Like, what is driving this kind of mania that's all happening right now?
Yeah, critical race theory isn't the best term for what they're reacting to. Now, I've heard from parents all over the country with concerns about pretty aggressive identity politics coming in. And they don't, understandably, they don't want their little kid being told when they're 8 that they're responsible for slavery. That being said, some of these laws are popping up before there's really been a problem related to it. And so the CRT laws that have been passed so far are just so sloppily drafted. It leads their opponents to actually argue, does this mean we can no longer talk about slavery?
That's kind of troubling, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And the argument that it's chilling speech is almost certainly true. With my lawyer hat on, can they do that? Almost certainly, unfortunately. Supreme Court law, when it comes to the rights of K through 12 teachers, they're very weak.
That's the thing that troubles me about this. Is like, you can't use that material.
Yeah.
It strikes me as like, okay, well, how do I know that it's wrong unless I read it?
A big part of this is the complete lack of trust that the culture war has bred.
You're teaching children to hate others because of their skin color.
They're afraid that K through 12 teachers, that cohort has become so radicalized that they can't be trusted to teach it in a way that is actually pedagogically sound. I'm willing to bet that's going to happen sometimes, but you shouldn't assume that's going to happen every time. You can't have serious discussions.
I have seen curriculum for students as young as 4 years old, where they are teaching them this ideology.
You know, I talk about we live in certain times, and people think of like, oh, you mean uncertain times. No. There is a great deal of moral and ideological certainty at this moment. And that's why people are scared, because if you come from the point of view of certainty, you're saying, oh my God, we're not teaching them the noble truths of the founding of the United States. But if you come from the other side saying that we're not teaching the fundamental truths about the evil of the United States, it's understandable why people don't trust each other on these topics. It's just going to get more and more ferocious because everybody is culture warrior 24 hours a day now.
So I have to say I was very glad to see those black parents speaking out, and I'm definitely going to do more research to find out if there's any groups that black parents can join to basically organize with other black parents across the country so that we can continue to fight this fight. This fight is not dead. It is not over, and we can definitely go to the Supreme Court. And we have other tricks up our sleeves that we will find, as long as, especially when you can talk to other people, you can definitely bounce ideas off each other. Me personally, I'm a homeschooling mom, so I've taken my older 2 sons out of school. My 15-year-old just went back to public school just because he wanted to make friends or whatever, but he definitely is extremely educated, very intelligent, very articulate, and he knows the truth, and so does my 17-year-old, and we talk about it daily, so it's not even like I'm talking about it once a year and they're forgetting it. No, it's a daily part of our lives, and I'm very honest with my children about things that they deal with, like being harassed by police. That happened. Time my eldest turned about 14, he started dealing with police harassment just walking home from the basketball court. So this is because racism is a daily part of our lives. It's a daily discussion that we're having, and I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh well, blah 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 blah. It's not so bad. No, I'm not going to do that. I refuse to fucking cover up someone else's sins, especially when your sins are the ones that are oppressing my family. We're not going to do that in this household, and I hope that a lot of black parents feel the same way. And I know that we're going to continue to fight this great fight. Even if our children don't learn it from their schools, they're going to be learning it when they go home, because parents are the first line of teachers. I always had to make it clear to my kids when they start school, like my 5-year-old just started this year, that, schools are great and all, but I'm the last say in whatever is being done with my child. I gave my child life. I gave birth to my child. I'm raising my child. It is my child. And I'm not going to allow a school or anyone else to come in and try to swoop in and take my kid away and teach them what they want. We're going to have a real fucking problem if anyone ever thought they can ever do that with my children. And every parent should see their children that way. You didn't have my children. You didn't give birth to my kids. These are my children. And if things just get really out of hand, you just have the option, black parents, is pulling your kids out and homeschooling them and teaching them the truth. But not only is it important for black children to learn the truth, but it's important for everyone to learn the truth. Because when you just have just black children knowing the truth, you're going to just have a bunch of angry black people who grow up to be adults that are angry at white people, and white people are going to be trying to wander around like, I don't know why you're so mad at me. Yeah, because your school is dumbing you down and you don't know shit, and that's why you're wondering why black people don't like you. And it's because not only did you do some really crappy racist things back a long time ago, you're still doing them to this day, and you never fixed it. So you guys, let me know what you think about this video and critical race theory, the banning of Sesame Street, and some other books children's books that look like they were just children's books. Like the Rosa Parks books, the I Am Enough book to try to teach little black girls to love their natural hair. It's ridiculous. It's a complete attack on our blackness, and we should see it as such. So make sure you leave comments below and like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.